right. Rahubat Collective, greetings, welcome in. We're going to talk about leaving certain communities, how to do so, especially when you feel like they no longer are serving you, or you have some form of attachment to it, a fear of moving on, anything of those, anything in that kind of direction, I should say. Um, I've been talking about making this one for a while. I finally got all the notes and stuff written down for it. I had to think down for a little bit to see where I wanted to take this and where I could take this as multiple ways. So I'm just going to make multiple videos with it instead of making an extremely long one. Just better that way because I had a lot of ideas running for this. Regardless, let's jump into it. Sometimes when you're in a community that no longer serves you, you may have trouble with leaving it. This can occur in many ways, such as taking a liking to the people within the community, charisma from the person who is in charge of that community and or the followers or whoever, a fear of being alone or lost, and all these reasons exist without one important fact being remembered, which is the codependency factor that you've agreed to within those interactions. Now, what do I mean by the codependency factor? Well, you get some form of gratification or some form of beneficial feeling or emotion from either that person, that community, that environment, that energy that community gives, right? And you grow codependent to it, meaning that you are now in this energy where you are cooperating with the dependency that place is giving, whatever that community is giving, right? And the reason I say that that's usually ignored or not remembered, I shouldn't say ignored, but not remembered, is because you tend to forget the original reason why you start doing something after a while of doing it. It becomes a repetition, and then your brain recognizes that as a pattern. And then if you don't do it, your brain recognizes it as an incomplete pattern, which makes you go back to it, right? That's also how addictions are formed, right? Everything in this realm that gives you a form of energy can be an addiction because you are using it then to get that gratification. And when you go to one thing, if that doesn't work, you usually pop over to another if you are still struggling with that form of addiction, no matter what it is, whether it be caffeine, drugs, porn, procrastination, overworking, anything of that nature, right? It doesn't matter what it is, you can always be addicted to something. That's the whole process of like detachment and not being attached so much to one specific thing and really making sure that you're living for yourself and not vicariously or for someone else. Vicariously through, I should say. But first thing is first, you need to ask yourself, what do I want to be? Do I wish to be a follower or a leader? Yet, better yet, do I want to follow someone else's life or do I want to lead my own? This will give you the answer that you want. If you ask this question and you say you're not sure or you don't know, remember that you actually do know. You just aren't able to make a choice for yourself as you've been looking for something or someone to follow, or forced by your own choices to say you don't know otherwise. So be sure that when you ask these questions, you don't just immediately respond. You might not get the answer immediately, which is the form of instant gratification. And without that, some people will say, I don't know. You have the answer within you. You truly do. It might not click immediately. You might get little hints of it here and there. It's important to listen to your intuition. A lot of people actually do hear their intuition and they say no to it, which then pushes it down and makes it harder for you to truly follow it and or hear it even more because you keep telling it you're not going to listen to it, or that can't be it. So then it ends up silencing itself. Not really silencing itself because it's always going to talk, but the voice that is the intuition becomes lighter and lighter and softer to where it's no longer able to reach you before the cloud of cons come towards you. Okay. If you choose to be a follower, don't be mad at your own confusion or lack or any sort of misunderstanding. Don't be mad at the fact that you are following something and you're not getting it. If you're choosing to be a follower, so that literally means if you ask that question, go, yeah, I want to be a follower. Don't. That's what you're choosing. Okay, that's the some of the side effects of choosing that. We'll say that, as that's what you chose, and all choices have a consequence or consequences, a sequence of cons or things that go against each other in a negative fashion, right? Consequence. The reason of this is every choice you make, you deem to be the best because you only make choices for your highest good, or so you believe, right? So once you choose what's best for you, you only have a con and or a negative to face. As the terms of life goes, you get both. You get one, there's going to be a polar opposite. There's two sides of the same coin, and despite whether you flip the coin or not, it doesn't matter if it lands on head or tails, there's one side that you're not seeing that's always going to be present there, as per law of the 3D realm that we live in. But we only see things at face value in a 2D form, so we only see what we're able to see and not the full spectrum, right? This doesn't mean that everything that is a consequence is bad or tragic. It just means it went against your original decision and or has a repercussion that either suits and benefits you moving forward or causes obstacles for you. If you chose to be a leader, then you must learn to be accountable or able to take hold of all that you've accounted for, or have a record, or for what you have a record for, or what was recorded for. There's a lot of ors in here. This begins with asking yourself, why do you follow someone else rather than yourself? Why do you believe someone else was going to save you other than you? Why did you put the responsibility or the ability to respond on someone else rather than yourself? Meditate on these questions, but don't remain inactive. As you leave whatever community you felt bound to or trapped in, ask yourself, are you staying due to a fear of not repenting after, or are you afraid of an oath you made? Is it deeper, or are you afraid of admitting to yourself that you were manipulated or you chose wrong? And for some, manipulated and chose wrong again, because not everyone's going to make a right choice, obviously, right? Were you afraid to test the spirit of whoever was in there, or did you fall for the gospel, the ghost spell? I should say, not the gospel. Excuse me, the gospel, the ghost spell. Excuse me. Come to the terms with this as you move forward, and let yourself know that there are liars in this world. And being fooled isn't bad, but to stay fooled is. Remind yourself that if you wish to end this pattern of enjoying, remind yourself that you wish to end this pattern of enjoying spookism, or maybe you might need to remind yourself if you want to continue it. Remind yourself why you don't want to continue it. Remind yourself why you did start in the first place. Truly, at the end of the day, it's up to you to walk away what isn't right for you and know what isn't for you as well. You have to know yourself to do this. This is why so many people who want the truth, or aren't able, excuse me, to digest the truth, can't handle it, because truly deep down they don't want it, or are under a spell they don't wish to break, don't know they're under, or they've been raised in a certain fashion that they are unable to break. And that is perfectly fine, however that is, right? But at the end of the day, you need to go home. And where is home? Whatever is most familiar to you. If you were once religious and then you jumped into spirituality and it's got you nowhere, go back to religion. It's not for you. If if you've always been spiritual, but you try to make things religious, stop. It's not for you. Be who you are supposed to be. Don't jump into these fads looking at other people's lives thinking that since they're doing something it's going to be better for you, because it might not be. And then you'll be stuck on that path deeming that it is going to be better just because you see other people living it and that's their path life and not yours. Now, of course, this is where jealousy and all these other emotions come up from and steer from. And it's important not to be jealous of anyone's path in life, because that's only going to come back on you and make you more stubborn to move forward. It's going to cause a lot of backlash on you. It's going to make your plate heavier to carry, because you're again getting these emotions from an outside source that you can't really control and or manipulate to benefit you. You might not be understanding why, because, but I can do anything and all these things. Yes, but you have inside of you a hard coded system that cannot be manipulated or broke. It can evolve. It can be manipulated, but it depends on who you are and if you're willing to let go of those old ways. You have to find who you are and what fits for you. You know, it's truly how it is at the end of the day. So don't allow yourself to be sucked into these groups just because you see everyone else doing good who follows that type of lifestyle, and then you hope that that's going to work for you. Not necessarily. You know what I mean? It might not be for you. Are you truly only sticking around because of buzzwords or because of titles as well, as what you have to ask yourself? Is it something about the thumbnails? And these could be for videos. This could even be thumbnails replacing for flyers, or thumbnails for the imagery, how they look from the external, or because you enjoy how they use their words or cater towards what they are doing. You may be under a person's charisma depending on how you answer these questions. Remember that the flesh is an illusion. The true being you're looking at and looking for is the spirit controlling the flesh. But we are a bunch of cars. We are spirits. We are souls that Allah has breathed into us, making us living souls walking around in flesh. It's not as simple as we would like to think it is. Which may not, and as well, like this, the spirit controlling the flesh may not be the one that you truly like or need to be around after all. Really focus on what you get from the messenger, and understand that there are two, well, technically three messengers when you are interacting with anyone. You have the message that that person is saying for their words and their set definition for those words, right? You then have the messenger that is you, that you receive the message, and then you relay that message back to yourself through the vibrations in the air, through your overstanding of the words and your overstanding of how you wish to perceive that other person. And then you have the third messenger, which is the spirit of God, who is in the middle between the two, that's really causing the interaction. That's where you get your feelings and things from, that is telling you how it is, what it truly is. And that message from the middle, from God, the source in the middle of the two, can definitely, and there, you know, there's the God within both of you all as well. It's, you know, we'll talk about it, but it's important to know that that message that's being sent and traversed to you can and will be misconstrued, distorted, perverted, and manipulated based off of your overstanding of just assuming that you know what someone is saying rather than asking them what they are saying or meaning, without knowing that person and how they define their words. You will truly not know what that person is truly trying to convey. And this is where a lot of people who think that they can read energy get things messed up on. They'll read the energy, and it turns out they're only reading themselves, and they're not actually reading what was written. They're reading how they feel rather than the words that are being stated. And this is that whole spell that you have to break free from, which was put on you at a young age, of the whole sticks and stones may break my bones, but words will never hurt me, going in reverse, where those words end up hurting you because you don't have a psychic defense strong enough to overcome and overstand what's actually being conveyed, and rather you fall victim due to your circumstances that you have allowed yourself to fall into. You fall into that victimhood and then become a target and attacked by whatever was sent to you, rather than taking it in a more lighthearted approach. You then condense it and hold it close and make it heavy. Okay. Do you lust or only talk about whoever this message? We're going to go back to the charisma thing. Sorry for that little loophole, but we had to take that. But are you really in lust or desiring something from the person who's talking, or you know, you're only looking at their looks, or are you there for solid information? Remember, these questions are neutral, and that only you can decide what is good and bad for you at the end of the day. That does not mean that if you think someone is bad, that they are a bad person. They just simply might have done something that isn't of resonance with you. And this is this whole thing of not holding such a tight grip, because then when you identify as someone being bad or evil or anything of that nature, you then put them in a category, and that makes you divide yourself from that individual. Overstanding that the choice that you just made of identifying someone as evil, you are now one action yourself away from being put into the same category as that person. Let's say you identify someone as evil and then you attack them, or you scream at them, or you start calling them names and bullying them. Now you are placed in the category of bad or evil that you put them in, but due to an egoic standpoint, what you'll say is, well, I didn't do what they did. No, but your actions, which was your words, were the same as the energy they outputted, and it's all a spectrum at the end of the day. So you put yourself in alignment with the same label, just might not be on the same frequency and or hue of it. And this is that big overstanding that a lot of people need to grasp when it comes down to things, because people are so focused on the duality, when if you're going to really focus on duality, the duality is what you know internally versus what's shown to you externally. The internal and the external, the dark and the light. You see things from the outside. That means the darkness lies within. That's why when you close your eyes, it's dark and you don't see a white light when you close your eyes. The closest that you'll see is gray. And even then, it's a pretty dark gray. It might be a light gray, and you might be looking at a light source that causes other colors. You might not have your eyes closed fully, which is then going to show you reflections and refractions of light coming in through those slits of eyes and bouncing off the inside of your eyelids, going back into your iris, but it will not be what you think, right? And that's what the everyone really has to understand with like how light works. Understand what light is and what it means and what light, how it works. Understand light work, basically. Let's say it like that. Do you pay attention to the person, what they have to say? Are you infatuated with the way they move, or even what they say? Are their words more important than their actual message? Is the question. Are other people who are walking with or following that person, depending on who the other person is, compelling you to stay, or are they allowing you to see from your own point? Right? Now, what I mean by allowing you to, are they forcing you to stay or see from your own point? If you were in that group, are you able to express your own opinions, right? If so, that's good. Overstand, though, that because you express your opinion, someone else can also come in and tell you something. That opinion that you express will always have a fact to it. And we tend to ignore the actual truth, the actual facts of things, due to an egoic standpoint of making it too personalized. Because at the end of the day, we go through personal experiences, because if it wasn't personal, it wouldn't be happening to you. It would be a counterpersonal or outward. I don't even know what the other word would be called, excuse me, really. But you wouldn't have a personal effect if A, you haven't already gone through it, or B, it wasn't happening to you at that current moment. That's why when you see something happen to someone else that's happened to you, you get those emotions of anger, or those emotions of the ramped up energy, because you now take it as a personal offense, because you can now personally relate to it. If you never went through anything of that nature, you wouldn't be able to relate to it at all, right? Also, do they command or ask you a question? Even to see, even ask you to see something differently is the question really at hand. Now, do they command you? Does someone say, no, you can't follow, you can't listen to this, you have to do this, this, and that? Do they say that, or do they question your of what you're doing? Do they give you questions like, why do you think that? Or do they get, or do they tell you, no, it has to be this? And listen to the words that I'm using. A lot of people ignore words because they hear them all day long. Words are specific, and I do my best to say the words that I mean to say, which is why I say has to. If anyone says has to, that's a word that causes and can cause fear and stress, because it shows an importance. In an instant, it shows, I can't think of the word, but the word intimacy comes up. I guess that's what I'm trying to think and not think. Intensity. Thank you. There we go. It's close. Intensity. It's a very intense word as it's a solid. It has to be this. Does it have to? What causes something to have to be something and attached to the personal and attached to an ego? Look at it from all aspects. Are you staying with the group due to sounds, smell, age, memories? Why are you truly there? Was there a time or cycle that you have fallen into completely? Do you have a fear of removing yourself, or do you not see it as an issue? Are you able to be your own person while interacting with the group or person, or do you feel like you have to change every little thing about you to be around them? Now, that question right there will lead you down a very different path. Now, let's say you feel like you have to change everything about you. Is that because of you not getting something yourself, or is that because someone externally is telling you? Remember when that you're dealing with energy, and energy is not always receiving. Sometimes you're receiving your own energy from your memories that are coming back due to you misunderstanding or misoverstanding, really understanding, because you'd be standing under it. It would be over top of you, which is why you'd be under it. And that's why you have a misunderstanding, is because you're standing under something, not seeing it fully, and the pressure is there. And that's why misunderstandings lead to heated conflicts, because now you're under pressure. Understand? Overstand? I would say not understand that. I would overstand on that one. But listen to the words I'm using. I'm telling you, it's all there. You might have to listen to it a few times. You might not have to. It depends on who you are and what you're going for, right? But if you feel like you have to change everything around that individual, is it because of you or them? And that's the question you have to really boil it down to. Because when you deal with energy, it's not just you receiving, you're also giving that energy. And where does that energy come from? From within. And where does that energy start from? From something in the past, because energy cannot be created or destroyed. It already is. It's been here since before the start. It will never go away. So that energy you're feeling is something that's already happened in the past that you actually either haven't healed from or you have healed from, and it's something that is just reoccurring. Overstand. So when you're reading energy, when you're saying someone's projecting something onto you, you're projecting your own energy from your own past experiences onto yourself and then projecting that onto someone else. So you're really doing a weird game of double projection, and you're not playing the game of telephone correctly, not listening to what the energy says. This is the whole point of energy reading, of being able to read the energy from a neutral point of view, where you're not attached to an outcome or a situation or a person or anything of that nature, and you're actually reading it as it's coming from the inside of you to the outside of you, and you're reading it from the outside of you and how it interacts with the inside of you. But you have to read yourself first, because it goes from you to them. And just because they had a reaction doesn't mean your reaction has to be on the same wavelength as their reaction. You know what I mean? You don't have to match the energy. You have your own energy, your own vibration. So why would you match someone's energy that you would deem less than yours? And this is very complicated, because whenever you get into that type of mess, when you're on your own energetic energy and you're saying things the way that you want to, I don't know why I said your own energetic energy, excuse me on that one, that was a brain fart. But when you're on your own energetic level and you're responding on the way that you would respond and that you do respond, someone can then take that as their own energy, because they're so infatuated with getting a certain response and or used to getting a familiar response of a certain emotion, that they believe now that you're giving it, that they can press more onto you. And that pressure comes from them mistreating their own energy rather than looking at you in the way that you're presenting yourself. I know I just said a lot there. Write it down, watch it a few times. That is fully what's going on in this whole game of energy. It's a combat where you have to not only worry about yourself and know that you can react one way, but know as well that you're talking to someone that you actually do not know energetically. Even if you stay with someone your entire life, there's some form of energy that they're going to do that you're just not going to know and or expect at all. That is the whole point of it, right? Anyway, asking yourself these questions will lead you to the why and not the how. And the why did you start following them? Not the how, but the why did you? How would be, oh, I started going to them because, how did you? So it'd be like a situational thing. You stuck with them because you left a situation and they popped up, but the reason why you stayed is because they gave you an answer to those situations, maybe for a meantime, or they gave you some sort of information that allowed you to stay solid, or they gave you answers for what you needed, but they're no longer supplying any new, and that's what you really have to pay out for, right? Many spirits call us daily, and it's up to us to test them and see them for who they really are. uh they're okay, I had a typo there. I forgot to put a space. I was like, what the heck is that word? Anyway, are they a pushover spirit or do they have their own morals? Now, a pushover spirit. What is a pushover spirit? It's a spirit, and you might think, like, isn't that name calling? No, it's every word that we have has a spirit attached to it. A pushover. What do you think when someone's pushed over? They're on the ground. Is this spirit something that stays on the ground? Do they push people over to get their way? Do they allow people to push them over? Do they push something over top of anyone to make them feel um, cut off or blocked? Or do they have their own morals? Are they living their own life? Or are they living for someone else? Are they changing for other people, or are they doing their own thing? This is what you have to really look out for. Are they doing work for other people and turning into a form of a slave in that sort of regard? Or are they doing what they desire to do because they know what they're doing, right? Are they able to communicate with you, or do they bark at you? Leave your ego at the door when asking these deeper questions. You are looking for the truth and not an emotionally charged opinion and or an emotionally charged realization, right? Many people who end up in leader positions go wrong, mainly because they want to lead, which is not really the way of doing things when it comes to a group setting. You don't need a one leader to command everyone to do anything. You need cooperation and understanding each other. That's the way to go. You can all lead in different aspects for the totality of whatever is being worked on. If someone or something is demanding you to do something, they aren't necessarily right for you, unless that demand is something that you signed up for naturally, right? Be sure to check yourself as well. Being on this road makes your ego believe that advice can be a demand, when in reality, most people can't handle advice due to a lack of trust in themselves or others, unable to accept advice due to stubbornness factor and from a past trauma could also be a result of this as well. A lot of people had parents where they would give them advice and then they wouldn't take it, and they would get mad and go, why didn't you tell me this would happen whenever they tried to? Some people was given advice and led the wrong way, and they took that to heart and they don't trust anyone anymore. Look out for the reasons inside of you, because every situation, though it may seem good or bad at the face value, it's going to have the opposite effect in the shadow. So yeah, you might have met someone who gave you a form of love or compassion in the start, but in the shadow, it taught you a lot about what you needed to give yourself, a lot of what you were lacking in yourself, and it either boosts you up to be able to walk your own 2 feet and do that for yourself, or it puts you in this codependent energy where you're unable to satisfy yourself in that type of way. Many people are also afraid of people doing spell work to them when leaving a community. And the best defense you can have with that is detachment. You need to have this psychic warfare down to pack, because everything starts from the mental plane, because you can only feel things. Well, most people can only feel things when the brain tells you to. Of course, like, the brain is a big part of it, but when you feel things from the actual heart space rather than the emotional space, you then get a more clear energy, right? Detach from the fear of being attacked for going your own path, which can definitely be a fear of being told that you aren't going to make it in the world or you're not going to do anything. This is really where you need to start laughing things off when people start threatening or calling you something that you're not, because in the end of the day, they don't know. And really, at the end of the day, do you truly know? There's just a question you're led to ask, because a lot of people are led down a path where they're taught, oh, like, oh, I'm this, I'm that, without having actually anything to do with that thing and or any power or abilities at all, and they're running off this weird ego trip. So watch out for that. Detach from the thought that you are being attacked for choosing you. That's this whole thing where you don't trust yourself. This also comes from, maybe from school environments or families as well, who didn't believe in you, and laughed or mocked at you or just didn't support you. Now you have that fear of doing anything because you feel like people are attacking you because they're not supporting you. And this is the whole thing of where people think if they're not doing one thing, they're doing the other, when there's also the choice of neutrality that is involved in everything. Detach from the fear you have of someone having power over you. The truth is, no one has power over you unless you allow it. Someone can do spell work on you, but if you truly deep down know that you have more power mentally than them, in the sense of having control over you and your actions, no one can actually have power over you. Remove cords and binds by removing a pedestal you had that person on, because that's a big point of keeping people away from your energy. Get closer to Allah or whatever God you wish to serve. Practice self-control. Release all negative feelings you have towards that person, place, and or thing. Release the need to control someone else's actions and or life for you to be able to do anything, because that's again where a lot of that energy can be transferred and taken from you and put on them, because you need them to do something. If they decide to take the energy and use it for themselves, then you end up getting drained for you, because you're wanting them to do an action and they did the action, subsequently taking yours as well. Reclaim your power. Reclaim power of your life. Continue to focus on your path or what you wish to focus on. Remember, you are living your life and no one else can tell you anything in your life unless you have a dependency on them to tell you your life, or you have a negative attachment towards that person. No matter how many people are in a group, you can overcome them by shifting your focus to a higher vibration. Spell work is very real. Magic is very real, but it starts internally. And if you are affected by it in any way, it's because you have an agreement inside of you that allows you to stand strong. This is, and then you have your disagreeable, which is, oh, I didn't agree to it though. Well, if you didn't agree to it, why is it happening? What things that you don't agree to do not happen. Things you do agree to will happen. And this is the one thing that people have to understand, especially when it comes to curses and hexes. If you're already saying it to yourself and believe it for yourself, you are giving anyone in the world power to come in and boop, bop, boop, and do whatever they want to do in your life. If you have the knowledge of yourself, whatever religion, whatever spiritual practice, whatever you are, even if you don't have any of those and you're just like, no one can do anything to me. That's your mindset. That's your life. Now that goes with a person. We're not going to worry about the government, all those higher things, because they have their own thing going on. Okay. That's its own little topic for its own time, right? We're talking about just groups of people, collectives, cults, covens, whatever the fuck you're dealing with, right? You cannot let them make you feel like they have that power over you. It doesn't matter whose grandma was the highest priestess in the West. If you know deep down inside that one person was taught things and that they taught you things and that you taught them things, you're on a playing ground of both being that teacher. You both had energetic alignments with each other to be close to each other. It doesn't matter if it's a group or getting. I'm saying this in this entire way. Don't really know why, but we'll keep going with it. But understand that even though someone feels or you think that someone's stronger than you, or you just see someone who has more experience, that doesn't mean that they are mentally stronger than you. Sometimes people who have a lot of experience are very mentally weak because they spend a lot of time overthinking. They spend a lot of time using that mental energy up, or they have a very thin skin. They can't take certain things. It's up to you to know that who you are mentally, who is protecting you at the end of the day. And if it's not you protecting yourself at the end of the day, if it's not some form of higher power protecting yourself at the end of the day, then you should probably look into why. And again, the biggest overcoming of any sort of working done on you is to dig into whatever you believe in more. It doesn't matter if you're reading the Bible, the Torah, the Quran, the Dalai Lama, whatever you're doing, whatever practice, Hinduism, Buddhism, I don't any get into it. Oh, I feel like I'm under attack. Start reading scripture. Start doing things along the line, along that religious practice that you're doing. Boost your spirit up. That is the strongest thing, because then you start to remember, oh, I'm actually protected by some of these words. It's not about distracting, it's about getting knowledge, knowing things. Start studying what you actually believe in or know to be true, depending on who you are and what you're doing. Get deeper with inside of that so that you can have that sort of defense already up, so that nothing else can actually come towards you and hurt you in any way, shape, or form. If you need to get stronger, you get closer to your creator. That's how you do it. They can't touch you if you're close with the creator. You're lost and you're straggling away, which is why you're weaker, why you're being attacked. So just get closer. And only you know how to truly get closer. But the best step I could give you is to jump back into the scriptures, go into the readings, go into the meditations, do whatever you need to do with whatever practices that you're doing to get closer to them. But this has been the little message for how to leave certain communities. Doesn't matter if they're religious or spiritual, just like friend groups, anything. A community is a community, and a spiritual community is a community full of spirits. And being spiritual just means to involve the spirit of nature of things, the spiritual nature of things, the spirit within everything, right? Regardless, I hope this helps. I hope it finds the right person. Thank you all so much for all the support. I love each and every one of y'all, to the moon and back, tenfold and forever. Everything's in the description that you would need. I'm going to see you all later. Have a good, whatever time it is, just have a very, very good time. A dish, a shug.